This is ABC Radio Perth.
With Belinda Zaraschetti.
Now, are you one of those people who always wanted to be a parent, knew from a really young age that you definitely wanted children? And I wonder if it worked out according to plan, or maybe it didn't. Maybe you're a woman who never wanted a child but wanted to help someone have a child of their own and thought about or actually became an egg donor. Is that you? Have you been part of an experience like that? Let me know. 1300 222 720 to call through this afternoon. The text is 0437 922 720. This is your chance to talk about any parenting issues that might be giving you a little bit of grief. Maybe sort it out Friday afternoon before you head into the weekend. Parent educator Claire Orange is here with you as always. Hi, Claire.
How are you going?
Yeah, great, thank you. And joining the conversation, we've got a special guest in today, Claire. This is Rachel Johns. Hello, Rachel.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And you've got a new book out. It's called The Greatest Gift, and it kind of ties into what we're talking about today. And I've sort of set up a little bit about the storyline, but can you flesh out some of the detail in this story?
Yep, sure. Well, The Greatest Gift is about two couples, one who always really wanted to have children but sadly can't due to the wife having childhood cancer, and then another couple who are definitely more career orientated. They've never thought they wanted to have children, or so they both believe, for various reasons. And it's about what happens when they decide to go down the egg donation route and how what can go right and what can go wrong. It's a really hard story to talk about without giving too many spoilers away. But yeah, it was really interesting talking to people on their journeys that were similar to the characters and differing, and just learning a lot more about this thing, which I knew very little about, I must admit, before I started to write the book.
So what drew you to this sort of story?
Well, as a writer, you often get lots of emails and messages from aspiring writers, and I got a Facebook message probably about 18 months ago now from a lady who was writing a memoir about her experiences, and part of that experience was her being an egg donor, and she's also been a surrogate. And so I said, I'm really sorry, I know nothing about writing memoir, but I tried to, point her in the right direction. And then I said, tell me more about this experience, because I had sort of an idea for a story that wasn't complete. It was sort of, which is often the case, your little seeds. And as soon as she told me that she was an egg donor, sort of light bulbs started going off in my head. No, that's the missing piece of my story. So I said to her, I would love to write a fiction book about this. And she said, oh, yes, please do. It would be really great to, get the message out there a little bit more and to have people thinking about these things. That lady, Mel Holman, runs a egg donation site in Australia called Egg Donation Australia, I think. And so she connects a lot of people, and, so she was an invaluable resource to have. Yeah.
And just a little bit about some of the stories that really stood out for you as, that little seed that's planted all that time ago on Facebook when that story came to light for you.
Yeah.
And what kind of stories did you hear along the way?
Oh, well, once I sort of started to go down this path, there was so many different stories, and all of them are heartbreaking, and I explore that a bit in the book too, about the decision for the egg donor. Who is she going to actually give her eggs to? How do you decide when, there's people who have had miscarriage after miscarriage for so long and, desperate to have a baby. There's others who, are infertile completely for various reasons. There's some who have genetic, diseases passed down in their family, and that's why they can't. Others just haven't met Mr. Right until, sadly, their biological clock has ticked. And so there was so many different pleas about why people wanted egg donor. And I don't think there was any that were more important to, seem more worthwhile than others. So I think that's a really, hard decision for people to make.
Yeah, what a spot to be in. Claire, have you met a lot of parents in this sort of situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly we had our struggles. I was talking to Rachel before, with fertility with our 4 boys, and you start to become very aware, actually, when you can't have a child and you long for a child, how deeply emotional that is in the journey of any parent, but the journey of a woman as well. So, on the flip side of then relinquishing part of your biological material to enable another family to become, that's certainly not part of my journey, but it's an incredible science around that, and certainly very emotive for people.
And the challenges for the couple. And everyone would have, if it's not your own personal story, in your own circle of friends, there's always going to be stories like that about just those challenges year after year. In some cases, it may draw you together, but there are many examples of the couple going their own separate ways after going through something like this.
Heartbreaking. The journey with infertility is certainly one that's heartbreaking, and any parent who has struggled either to conceive or to maintain a pregnancy will tell you that it's quite dramatic in your psychological landscape over a lifetime.
I think it's even the only thing you can sort of focus on. I mean, I luckily, I suppose it's whether the right word or not, conceived my children relatively easily, although I did have some pregnancy issues. And even the time when I was just trying to conceive and it wasn't that long, it was all I could think about. So I can only imagine the pain of someone who, you know, has been trying for years or has experienced multiple miscarriages, and, you know, it becomes like nothing. You can't think about anything else, I suppose. So, and I've had many people email me about previous books I've touched on infertility, and, you know, the stories that people email you and they say, you know, thank you for exploring this. I felt exactly how your character did, and it, you know, it just makes me feel that, you know, my opinion is valid and right and stuff. So there's so many. It's touched, even if it's not touched you, it's touched people you know.
Mm. Oh, I was reading, and these figures were only out this week. This is from the Fertility Society of Australia. There was a conference held in Adelaide just on Wednesday, so a couple of days ago, and apparently the numbers are now 1 in 6 Australian couples experiencing infertility.
Wow.
So that, you know, that 1 in 6, it really does.
High.
It is high. ABC Radio Perth, it's 16 to 4, and talking about parenting issues. We do this on a Friday afternoon each week. But today in particular, looking at that area of infertility, and I wonder if that's touched your family at all and how you dealt with that, and maybe some of the lengths you went to. Maybe it's IVF, maybe it's like we're discussing through the characters in your book, through being an egg donor and helping out another family. It'd be great to have you part of it.
Be part of the conversation. Call 1300 222 720.
What are some of those challenges, Claire, when you've got those kind of different family situations like that, when you've experienced infertility? What do you suggest to people, couples in that kind of situation?
There's so many. I mean, when you're going through the journey of trying to conceive, I guess it's those self-protective things. You know, it's difficult then being exposed to other couples, other families who are having children relatively easily. And it's all right to become self-protective, and certainly seasons of the year where they're very strongly family-oriented, like us now going into Christmas. It's very much based around children, and it can cause great heartache. So for couples who are experiencing those sorts of issues is to plan out ahead of time how you're going to protect yourself and your heart while you're getting through that season, which really highlights what's absent in your life at that point in time.
Rachel, did that come through in your research?
And I also think that it's not just the couples that we should be. That's why I hope, you know, through talking about issues like this in books, that people will realise that, you know, so how many people ask, oh, when are you going to have the next child? Or, you know, if someone's just had a miscarriage, and then you put your foot in, oh, when are you going to have a baby, to couples who could have been trying for years. So I think people really need to be more sensitive about these issues in general.
You do get asked that question quite a lot.
It's quite rude, really.
If you get engaged, you get married, it's constantly a question that comes up.
Do you think it's changing though? Because I think really, I mean, if you're looking at 1 in 6 couples now struggling with fertility, I would say that we're probably moving into the age where, you know, getting married in your early 20s and then, you know, popping out your first baby, well, if that's what you do, it's probably people are having their careers, well-rounded careers now, and then coming into parenting perhaps a little later. So I kind of think that societal expectations about what a partnership and what a marriage or whatever that union of two people is going to be as an outcome, I'd say people are probably more sensitive now than probably back when we were trying for babies, which was, you know, for me, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I hope so. And I do think that because the media discussing things and everything that brings people to think more. And we have had a lot of discussions in the media about surrogacy, egg donation, same-sex families, all that, So I guess we're celebrating more that family doesn't have to be just, a man and a woman and 2.3 kids or whatever. And that's what I kind of wanted to celebrate too, that, family can come in all sorts of wonderful different shapes and sizes. So, yeah, I think things probably are slowly changing. But I know I've still got friends who've, they've got one child and they always ask, when's the next one? Or,
And you don't know what that triggers for someone when you're asking questions like that, because that could be quite a challenging situation that they're dealing with at home if they are trying. And then they've got to do it, sort of discuss it publicly like that.
Yeah. Difficult for couples. And I think, that wanting to ask when the next one is coming, it's quite common, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just something that we don't really think about often. People just don't think about it. It's just a conversation starter and things like that. But then, when you're aware of people's troubles, you start thinking about these things a little bit more.
And sometimes it's the parents of the parents. They
want grandchildren.
They do, and they're asking that question, and so they can't wait to have that experience, I guess. So it's coming from the right place, but it just might trigger off some things that, they'd probably rather not be talking about. ABC Radio Perth, 12 minutes to 4 o'clock. 1300 222 720 to call through. And this is Helen. Hi, Helen.
Hi there.
Hi. What's your story, Helen?
I donated eggs to a very close friend of mine last year. And ours is a really happy story. She had a little boy first try, and I got pregnant quite soon after. So within 6 months, my partner and I had our own little boy.
So how was that experience, Helen?
It was interesting. Like, taking the drugs was quite strange for me, who hadn't really explored having a baby or what that would entail before that. But, I had a really supportive family, and I knew that, they were going to be amazing parents and that it would change their lives. I was pretty confident in my decision to do it.
And do you see the child?
Yes.
Yeah.
They live in Sydney.
Okay.
Gemma is a really close family friend of mine and my partner's. So, we're really close with them.
And what eventually will they tell the child, Helen?
I think we're all going to be really honest about the situation. And Gemma has a sister who has a baby who was conceived with another sister's eggs. So there's sort of a precedent in the family, which helps, and that's sort of all out there in the open as well. So, I think I'll just be a special person in the baby's life. And it will be all out there in the open.
And is it something that you'd recommend to someone else considering to be an egg donor?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the situation has to be right for you, and I think for us, because it was so, I probably wouldn't have done it necessarily had it not been for a close friend of mine who I sort of had seen her and her partner's experience, and so I probably wouldn't have come onto my radar necessarily. But, it is an incredible gift, and their life has changed so much. And this little boy is growing up in a totally loving family. It's amazing.
How old is the child now?
He was 1 in June.
Okay. Thank you for calling through with that today, Helen. That's a great little insight. Thank you so much. 1300 222 720. In the studio this afternoon, this is part of our parenting chat that we have every week here on ABC Radio Perth at this time. Claire Orange is always here, parent educator, and today in the studio we have Rachel Johns, who's an author. And it's funny that Helen used those words, that great gift or something, because
it's true. I mean, and her story just, it was lovely to hear that, and also like tingles almost hearing, because that is the amount of people that I talked to or heard their stories. In Australia it is so open, whereas overseas often it's, explanation is more an anonymous thing, and I think it's beautiful that it's so open. And the egg donor who I initially contacted me, she still keeps in contact with all the families. I think there's about 13 children she's now donated eggs for. There's a limit for how many families, so they're in groups of families. But and yeah, she knows all of them, and it is very open, and I think it's quite beautiful to celebrate different types of family.
Isn't that interesting? Because you just have that model of the standard sort of family. And, I mean, this is quite a unique situation, as the characters in your book go through. But Helen, with her story, it's a different relationship with a child. I thought it was very
interesting also that she didn't have a child herself when she first donated her eggs, because my research has shown that often that's, even though my character in the book doesn't either, often it's, less likely that that's the situation. Usually the people have had their own family first.
Yeah, okay. This through on text, it's from Pew in Kalamunda. I conceived after 18 years. I had many tests in those 18 years, all on the inside of the womb, only to find out after all of those years the problem was on the outside of one tube. So one operation, and 1 year later she was pregnant. Now, proud grandmother of 3. Oh, Angela, thank you for that, Angela, in Kalamunda. It's incredible. Like, just one thing was going to fix that, and it took all those years to find out, to sort it out.
And that would have been 18 years of
heartache,
emotional agony, really getting through that.
Thank you for that, Angela. And thank you both for coming in today. Rachel Johns, author, thank you for being part of it today. And Claire, we'll catch up again next Friday.
Thanks, Belinda.
Claire Orange is a parent educator. We talk about some parenting issues every Friday here on ABC Radio Perth just after 3:30.